Hi, I'm Jerril Rechter, Executive Director of Leadership Victoria. Today I'm here with Stephanie Alexander and we're going to talk about some of her leadership experiences and her fabulous Kitchen Garden Foundation. Stephanie Alexander, welcome to Business Spectator.
Thank you.
Your life has evolved around the food industry and you're a celebrated cook, restaurateur and publisher, and you've now added Foundation Chair to your list of achievements. Can I just take you back to kind of your first leadership experiences? What were you like as a leader in those early days at Jamaican House? And do you think it's possible to be the leader of a restaurant without being demonic?
Absolutely, but I perhaps would say that I think my first leadership role was probably being the eldest child in a family of four, and having a strange secondary school experience where, because of shortage of schools after the Second World War, my particular group of kids who all grew up on the Mornington Peninsula were sent off to various temporary schools. And so when we finally entered a school, we were already in year 9, and so I was the top of the pops, if you like, top form of high school from a very, very early age, from say 12, and as I moved through the school, I continued to be in the top grade. And that was quite interesting because we sort of were a prefect and school captain and all those sorts of things, and went home and were the eldest child and could boss all these young ones around. So I think I got used to understanding the need to direct or help other people from a very early age. But back to the restaurant industry, I think you certainly can lead a team without being demonic.
And so what kind of traits do you think that you are as a leader, particularly in those early days when you were in some of your first restaurants?
Well, I think that overall it's been communicating passion for what I do by example, and that I have always put in 110% myself, and so the people who have been attracted to work with me have found that pretty inspirational and have been the sort of personalities that responded to that. So it was a team thing that was created.
And in reading about Stephanie's, you've said that it took almost all of your energy and commitment to make that restaurant work. Do you think that it was worth it?
Oh, it was certainly worth it. I mean, they were amazing years. There were 21 years altogether, and it went from being a fairly small restaurant with a fairly small staff to, by the end of its life, there would have been probably 20 or 30 people involved in the whole operation. And again, it was enthusiasm and passion that kept driving me on, and I would find that it was a bit of a circular thing. I drew inspiration and energy from having committed people around me, and I think they continued to feel they could put in at that level because I was always there and always loved what I was doing.
And did you have many people that you were mentoring during that phase?
Yes, I would say that the mentoring aspect of my years at Stephanie's restaurant they were very important to me, the years and the people, and some of those young people who came to the restaurant as work experience students even from the local high school. Some of them, and one in particular, went on to become the head chef in the restaurant many, many, many years later. So there was a great interest in watching their own personal development. Many of them moved on to other wonderful places, and I always felt very happy for that.
And in 2001, you established, or you started to collaborate with an inner city Melbourne school, and you established the Kitchen Garden program. And you've now moved on to establish the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation. Can you talk about what you were hoping to achieve, and could you imagine that it would be the success that it is today?
Well, what I was hoping to achieve was to show that if you offered young children the opportunity to learn everything about food in the nicest possible way, the most enjoyable possible way, that you would see behaviour change. Ideally, it happens at home in a sort of just a gradual, gentle way from toddlerhood, but we do know that for many children this is not the background they come from, and it's not a high priority for their parents. So unless there is an early intervention, I have always believed that it's not surprising that children respond to the messages that they get all day, every day, all around them from people who are trying to persuade them to eat pretty low nutrient type food. And I just think positive modelling is an incredibly powerful influence, And that's what I wanted to try. So we tried it out at Collingwood, and for 4 years before we were able to make the foundation real. And it has just progressed. And I mean, to me, it is not surprising that it has succeeded. To other people, I think it's perhaps surprising that it has expanded the way it has. And when I'm asked if I thought that that's what was going to happen, I think I'd have to say I probably wasn't thinking too far ahead. I was just concentrating on getting one program up, running, being strong, offering a model that people could come and have a look at. But I was still talking about the idea that this was the way to influence what young people eat and how they feel about the environment. So I don't know what I thought was in the future.
You said that you thought that people were a bit surprised that it was going to be a success, or they were surprised that this was the way forward. Why do you think that?
Well, I think a lot of people don't even think about it. And there are many people that I meet who haven't had the sort of upbringing that I had, being in a family where what you ate did matter, where you actually talked about what you ate, where you actually grew things, where part of every meal had probably come from our own garden. And that can't help, in my opinion, breeding a food lover. You just love it, and it's part of your life forever. And I find that a lot of the people that I talk to, be they politicians or bureaucrats or counsellors or some teachers, they haven't had that sort of background, and it takes them a bit of understanding, a bit of coming to actually look at the program in action before they can see how powerful it is.
And picking up on that, as a foundation chair, you do have to talk a lot to the government sector and the corporate sector. What is that like as a leader? Is it a different experience to what you've had in the past?
Yes, it is. I think speaking to people like that is very different, and I think that I'm sensible enough to understand that it also requires skills that I actually don't have. It requires a complementary set of skills of people who can talk figures in a way that I'm not comfortable with, but I still think that the colourful and the descriptive way that I can describe the program, the benefits of it, the impact of it, is often extremely powerful to politicians and anyone else I'm lobbying. But I do like to go along with my CEO or somebody else from the foundation who somebody can turn to and say, well, how much is it going to cost?
Stephanie, what has been a crucial moment in your leadership experience, and has there been lessons that you've learned from that time?
I actually don't think there was a crucial moment. I suspect that I've got the sort of personality that just goes with the next punch. Something's thrown at me and I have to try to work out how best to respond to it. I have always believed that it's best to be truthful. I've always believed it's best to not try to be too tricky and to give a proper answer when asked, and to allow my enthusiasm and my genuine beliefs to shine through as a leader.
Sounds like a list of ingredients for what makes a successful leader. Are they some of the things for you that make a successful leader?
I think so, and I think it's very important to never lose sight of the big picture. And I would have to say, during the years at Stephanie's, that was perhaps something that was always a bit of a problem in the background, because it was so easy to get overwhelmed by the detail of what you were doing and the daily grind and the daily crises, that sometimes it was hard to stand back and say, hang on, what are we really trying to do here? We're trying to produce beautiful food that's going to give a lot of pleasure to a lot of people, and let's not forget that.
If you had to pick 3 things that give you joy in your current role and in your life, what would they be?
Top of the pops would be my children. We have a wonderful relationship. We really enjoy each other's company, and they are marvellous young women. Secondly would have to be the pleasure I get seeing the success of the program through the eyes of the children whenever I visit one of our program schools. They are fabulous, and they are the best possible advertisement for what we do. And thirdly would be my friends. I have wonderful close friends from university days, and we get together at least once a week and we have lots to talk about.
Is there a particular recipe that you wish you'd invented?
Look, I'm I always feel a bit anxious about inventing recipes. I think very few of us make any real breakthroughs. I wonder who invented whipping egg whites would be quite a good one. But no, I don't. I respect enormously the traditions from which recipes have evolved. I don't really think I want to be an inventor.
Oh, I think people would find that quite surprising because I think they would say that you're absolutely an inventor. If you were a main course, what would you be?
I might be a grilled pigeon. I might be some piece of absolutely beautiful deep water fish, like a hapuka. Or it might be a beautiful roast chicken.
Steph Alexander, thank you very much for joining us on Business Spectator.
It's a pleasure.